Pleasure, Max.
Could we start off by you telling us what your vision is for the Green Party?
I want the Green Party to have the strength in councils and in Parliament that it deserves to have, based on the level of support that we know that we've got in the country. You know, up until now, the political system has tended to disadvantage small parties, but we know that now we're in, an era where the two-party system is over. We're in a five-party system, six parties in Wales, and there's a huge opportunity here for the Green Party. We've had a fantastic step change over the last 4 years under the leadership of Carla and Adrian together. We've quadrupled our number of MPs, doubled our number of councillors, hugely increased our vote share. And now we have this opportunity to get a transformational change, both in the strength and the representation of the Green Party and the change in our political system that the whole country needs.
So, are there any differences between what you've described as your vision and what you think Adrian Ramsey's vision would be?
Now I think Adrian and I are united in the vision that we have for, ensuring that green voices are heard in the centre of politics. We have an amazing platform here as MPs working in Westminster day in, day out, talking about the issues that people really care about, transforming our public services, our NHS and social care. That's something I was talking about in Parliament just last week and in the media today, making sure that we're making the investments in the green industrial transformation that we need to have the country that our next generation needs to inherit. Adrian and I are united in wanting to do that.
And I think this is a question that a lot of members of the public have. If you were to win a majority, who becomes Prime Minister?
Oh, if we were to win a majority
In
of
Parliament, yeah,
MPs,
who becomes
well,
Prime
that
Minister?
would be a lovely problem, and we'd cross that bridge when we come to it.
And how does it work day to day? If you disagree on the subject, how do you resolve it?
In the same way that politics ought to work in every party and in Parliament, by talking it through. The Greens have had this model of co-leadership very successfully for a number of years now, and it basically models our cooperative, collaborative approach to politics. Greens have always said, good ideas can come from all sorts of directions. We've always believed in the sorts of politics that means people sit around a table talking and working out where the common ground is. We model that within our party. We think that Parliament should work much more like that as well. And I can't tell you how many people I met on the doorstep campaigning in the general election last year who had exactly that view. People are sick and tired of yah-boo, shouty, polarised politics. People want the sort of politics that brings people together, that builds the biggest possible team to get the transformational change we need.
Um, and just one final question on that topic. Would you be able to tell me what the last thing you did disagree on was and how you resolved it?
With Adrian,
Yeah.
specifically. Oh my goodness. Um, I mean, some wording in our, original video. I mean, people disagree all the time on things. We obviously don't have big fundamental political disagreements. We're in the same party. People in the Green Party are there because we've got the fundamentally same positive, hopeful vision for the future of the country, which is a greener, fairer future. There's so much more that unites us than divides us. But obviously, people in politics will disagree about this and that all the time. But what politics is about is a way to bring people together across constituencies, across the whole country, to talk about those differences, to work out where the common ground is. And the common ground is always way bigger than any area of disagreement. That's what I found. That's what I've shown by winning a seat that was formerly considered, true blue Tory and completely unwinnable for anything else. I have learned that, through shoe leather on the streets, that people are not nearly as tribal as some parts of politics try to make them out to be. Most people want to talk and listen with others, find the common ground, and build a better country on the basis of that.
And so, in your pitch to Green Party members, what are you saying that's setting you apart from other candidates?
Well, at the minute, there's only one other candidate for the leadership. And I think that the unique thing that Adrian and I bring is, we have the credibility of being in Parliament. Every other party has leaders who are MPs, and that's for a reason, because being in Parliament gives you a platform. We're talking every single day about the issues that are at the forefront of the political agenda. And we are serious about politics. We're serious about winning elections. We think the party does have to be focused, 100% focused on winning elections, because that is the role of the Green Party. We're part of a bigger environmental movement. We're part of a bigger movement for social justice. But the unique thing that the Green Party does is it focuses energy on winning power, winning seats at council and at parliamentary level. Adrian and I are completely focused on doing that. And we know through personal experience, through our own election campaigns, both of which previously considered unwinnable, both of which huge, huge swings, we know that we do that by bringing people together, energizing people with a shared vision that everyone can buy into. That is how you get real, genuine political change.
And how would a Green Party, led by yourself and Adrian, position itself in relation to Labour? As a challenger or as a partner?
Oh my goodness, as a challenger, we are clearly a challenger. You know, we have been holding the Labour government's feet to the fire on so many issues since we were elected, on the cruel cuts to winter fuel allowance and the two-child benefit cap, on the changes to welfare and balancing the books on the back of the poorest more recently, on their complete failure to tackle the climate crisis with the urgency that it deserves. Currently, just this week, I'm in the Planning and Infrastructure Bill Committee holding them to account on nature protection. And of course, today, you know, speaking out against the way that Labour is simply aping, damaging, divisive reform rhetoric on immigration rather than recognising that our public services need proper investment, which should be funded through a fairer taxation system, and recognising that we're a country with a huge history of migration and people coming to this country and making an incredibly positive contribution. So we have been challenging Labour ever since we were elected. That's not to say that where we think Labour's doing the right thing, of course, we'll support them. And if you look at our voting records, on some things I've voted with Labour, on some things against. It's got to be on a case by case basis. Going back to the point I made earlier about seeking the common ground, politics fails all of us if it becomes about sound bites, if it becomes about polarization, if it becomes about black and white divisions and failure to listen. Where there is common ground between green policies and Labour or anybody else, I want to work with them to make the positive change the country needs. But where I feel that government is failing, I will be front and centre in holding them to account, criticising them, and putting on record the policies that can make the real change happen.
As you said, you're willing to support the government in cases where you think that is the right thing to do. Would you be able to tell me what your favourite government policy is?
Well, I'm really supportive of their plan to renationalise the railways, for example, and I support the investment that they're making in generating renewable energy. But I've said all the way along, you can't just tackle the energy crisis by only looking at the supply side of it. I've been pressing the government, together with my Green Party colleagues, right from the start to invest also in a nationwide home insulation programme, because we've got to make sure that we use energy as efficiently as possible, as well as making sure that when we generate it, it's clean and green. So there are always ways that the Green Party has got fresh, additional ideas to offer on top. But we are willing to say when we think that the government is doing something decent.
And how do you respond to concerns that you might be splitting the progressive vote in some places in elections and perhaps even helping reform?
No, I really don't think that's the case. I mean, fundamentally, people have got to vote for what they believe in. Fundamentally, the two main parties have let people down so comprehensively that voters are incredibly frustrated. I mean, what we've seen with the local election results just recently, with a big result for reform in some parts of the country, was born of frustration. It's a cry against the failures of Labour and the Conservatives to offer the policies that people really feel will make their lives better. In that context, the Greens are in such an important place in politics because we offer people a sense of hope. We contrast our politics of hope and genuine vision for a greener, fairer country with reforms politics of division and fear. That's not the way forward. We recognise that people feel let down, but we know that when we go out campaigning, we win support because people recognise that Greens, when they're elected, work incredibly hard for their local communities. That's why we've had 8 years running of steadily increasing numbers of councillors elected. That's why we've quadrupled our number of MPs last year. We've got this fantastic platform for further growth. And like I say, the political system is blown wide open. There is everything to play for. And the Greens have such an important message and such an important part to play in the political future of the UK.
And one final question. If we have a hung parliament after the next general election, and Keir Starmer says to you, would you like to join me at the cabinet table and help me get a majority? Will you say yes?
Do you know what? I mean, there's so many assumptions in what you've just said there. Would it be Labour that was in a position possibly to be the main party? We don't know. Would Keir Starmer still be leading the Labour Party? We don't know. All of that is speculation. But what I can say is that Greens believe in the politics of cooperation. I previously served as a member of the European Parliament in a proportionally elected parliament where every party had to sit together around the table to look at the details of legislation, work it out together and see where the common ground was. That's the sort of politics that I believe in. And I think it's the politics that people in the country, up and down the country, are crying out for. They are sick and tired of politics by soundbite. They're sick and tired of people who are in it for their egos. They're sick and tired of people who aren't listening. Actually, what people want is politicians who are honest, open, authentic, really themselves, and who genuinely believe that we're all better off if we listen to each other, if we try to understand each other, even on the things where we might not agree, and if we try to find where we can move forward together. I'll give you a really concrete example. So, social care, reforming social care, it's a huge problem in the country. People are desperate. People at the ends of their lives are being left without the care that they need, and we should be providing. And that's a failure of political will. We've had 20 years of commissions and reports and select committees. We've had 20 reports in those 20 years. Now the government has commissioned another one, but it hasn't done what it said it would, bring the parties together to have cross-party political conversations to find out where we can work together to finally unblock this political impasse. I believe in doing that sort of difficult politics. I believe in talking to people across all of the aisles, and I believe in working together for the good of the country. If we have a hung parliament after the next election, I will absolutely be prepared to play my part in talking constructively with everybody to see how we can form a government in which green values and vision for a brighter, greener future play their part.
Thank you very much for your time.